Great, amazing. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the stage 2, the second webinar from the Stratos Growth Accelerator program. So we'll just give 1 or 2 minutes for other people to come in and then we'll get started. Okay, well, I think we've got a good crowd, so let's get started now. For those that know me, I'm Michael Williamson. I've been working alongside many of you over the last 6 weeks or so. We did the first webinar to introduce the concept of the Stratos growth program, and I've been speaking with many of you around your one-to-one growth plans. So there've been some really engaging conversations. Thank you everybody that's come into this with such good spirit and focus on driving growth. And the key foundation here is that when you succeed, Hammer succeeds, and that's really the focus on getting you your success. But one of the things that we've really had feedback through the one-to-one growth audits and the growth plans are that there was a lot of confusion around the Microsoft marketing rebate. So this is basically the marketing co-op funds that partners can have access to. And this is obviously a source of cash that you can use to put into your growth in order to drive that growth over the next 2-3 years. And so basically we've got Annie Clemo, who's an expert at Noteworthy, one of the core partners with Hammer, who's going to walk us step by step and walk us through that. And then she's going to explain the process here. You've also got the opportunity to raise any Q&A. Just before we get into the main session, if any of you haven't yet booked your one-to-one growth assessment, then you can do that directly with me through the portal, and then we can build, which is completely free, your tailored growth plan in order to drive further growth for your as a partner. So with that, I'll hand over to Annie. Welcome, Annie.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. I know that I've met a couple of you before, so nice to see you again. And then to those that I haven't met before, it's lovely to meet you. As Michael said, I'm Annie Clemo. I'm Head of Partner Acquisition at Noteworthy Support, and co-op and funding from Microsoft, I'll be really honest, is a really, really common reason for partners to reach out to us in the first place. What I've done for today is I've put together a roadmap, which I'll show you in a second, of all of the different ways that you can start earning revenue from Microsoft. And it will cover from day one, which obviously you guys will be much further beyond that point. But it will signpost you into what types of funding are available at the points of your journey through the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program. Co-op is a big topic, so I'll go on to the next slide and I'll show you how it comes about, what you need to be earning to get to that point, and then also we can come on to how you start to earn it. So day one is obviously once your CSP registered, you begin earning not only your reseller margin, which is the profitable bit to you, but you start billing sales within the partner center. So Microsoft sees you as a transacting partner. That's really important when it comes to earning rebate, because once you get to, and this is new actually as of the 1st of October, it used to be that you had to get the full 70 points in your partner capability score to begin earning rebates. Now, once you get to that partner capability score of 25, you're on track to start earning these CSP transactional rebates. Within this step, 25 is the magic number, so it's 25 partner capability score, and then also an annual CSP revenue of greater than $25,000, which I believe will be the case for all of you, which means that you should be earning those CSP transactional rebates. Now, I've got a slide in a second where I'll show you the types of numbers that you can expect. Typically, ballpark, it will be around the 3 to 4% number that you're looking at will be the rebate that you receive back from Microsoft. That typically, if you're a mid-sized partner, that rebate will come back to you as cash every single month. Microsoft like to make things a little bit more complicated though, and it's not that 100% of that 4% will be paid back to you straight away. Microsoft will give you 60% and reserve 40% of that revenue, which we'll come on to in a second, because that will determine whether or not you are eligible for co-op funding. The next step kind of in your partner journey, and really the next step you should be aiming for after reaching that 25 and 25 will be a partner capability score of 70. The reason that that's really important is that's the point at which you can purchase your solution partner designation in whichever workload it is that you specialize in. A key point as well that I'll raise now that not too often partners know this is that obviously the investment for a solution partner designation can feel like a lot of money. They're around about £3,000 when you do the conversion. It is an investment, however, once you purchase one solution partner designation, say if you had one in modern work, and then you were also on the way to earning yours in security, you don't have to purchase it twice. It's a one-time fee, so you could pay the designation fee for one or all 6. So essentially, the more skilled you are, the better investment that designation will be. Now, a really common question that I'm getting all the time at the moment is topical, I think, because it's October and that's when the change came in, is what is the benefit in purchasing the solution partner designation to go from 25 points up to the 70? And it's a really simple answer in the MCI funded engagements. There's other things that, of course, are softer benefits like partner reputation, or if you want to be known on the AppSource page or as having a particular skill set, then of course that is a softer benefit. But when we're looking at the revenue generating side of things, it will be the MCI funded engagements, which I'll come on to. These are separate from rebates and from co-op, which is where things can get a little bit muddy. These will be for specific projects that you're carrying out. So for example, a really common one that partners do within security now is it's an immersion briefing. So you would run a webinar to your customers where you talk to them around the different threats within the landscape. I don't know, I'm not techie. That'd be for you guys to kind of give the content to your customers. But once you run that webinar, Microsoft will give you a one-time payment of $2,000 for running it. So these are these kind of ad hoc, kind of larger lump sums that you can unlock for a specific type of work that you carry out. And that kind of takes us on to co-op. Typically, we will see that partners, when they're at co-op, kind of comes after the solution partner designation because it tends to come to partners that are heavily invested within the Microsoft ecosystem. And the reason for that is that the threshold to earn it is quite high. So typically, partners that earn co-op on CSP products are spending around about £100,000 a month on Microsoft products. There are exceptions to that. If you're spending a lot of money on Surface products, for example, that's one that we can dig into deeper. As part of the tech track, we are offering 30-minute consultations with partners where we can run in more depth into your individual partner center instance and see whether or not you do have co-op within there. And if you do, fantastic, I can show you where to go and what to see from it. But the earning, as I talk through this, you will see that it's a complicated thing to work out as to whether you earn it, and you won't necessarily know off the top of your head, which is why it's so important to check. So I mentioned briefly that Microsoft don't make it easy and just pay you 100% of the cash rebate. They used to, but I think around about 4 or 5 years ago, they reintroduced co-op back again. Microsoft, once you start earning a certain amount of this transactional rebate, so not MCI funded engagements, they don't count within this. So just that, for every £1 that you spend, you're getting 4% back. They don't, once you start earning a certain amount, they want you to show that you are using that money back into the business to reinvest into your Microsoft practice. The way they calculate it is, so they call it semesters, which I find always to be quite an American term, but it's essentially every 6 months. So it will run January to June and then July to December will be the periods that they look at. If within that 6 months, 40% of your transactional rebates are greater than $10,000, that's your co-op pot for the next half of the year. So what will happen to every partner, and this is a really easy way to kind of check, kind of sanity check if it's something that you've seen within the business, is if you receive a lump sum payment from Microsoft that's typically larger than what you'd see from rebates kind of every 6 months, that would be your co-op pot being returned to you as rebate. So say, for example, that 40% that Microsoft hold back reached $8,000 within 6 months. At the end of that 6-month period, you would receive $8,000 from Microsoft back for you to spend on whatever you wanted to. If that reached $10,001, what you would find is that on the first day of the next half, so let's say 1st of January, you would see that you had $10,001 co-op funding eligible to claim. A common misconception that we see is that partners believe that if you earn co-op funding, it's extra money. It's not necessarily the case. It's kind of the same money, but it's more difficult for you to access and spend it, if I'm being really honest. It's the same money that you get. What we find is a real shame with co-op funding is that it can be difficult to know whether or not you have that money within there, because you don't have the lump sum payments. If you're below the threshold, you get the lump sum payments, you know that that money is coming in. For partners that are in the co-op bracket, there's no alert, there's nothing that will tell you that you have co-op funding. It's something that you just need to go in and look for. If you don't use your co-op funding, the real shame is that it goes away and you don't get it back again. So you really do need to use it within the set period that it's eligible to be spent. And then the next step, I guess, after co-op funding would be advanced specializations. The advanced specializations come after your solution partner designation, and if any of you have them within the group today, they're a really powerful investment, because obviously you have to pay for the audits. You don't have to pay for a specialization itself in the same way you do a designation, but they do unlock further MCI funded engagement. So that's really the revenue driver, if you like, for earning a specialization. So I said I'd show you some examples. So 365 incentives. So all of you obviously working with Hammer would be indirect resellers. As of the 1st of October this year, so if you have a 25-point minimum capability for modern work or security, on modern work, your core rebate, you can see it there, is the 3.75%. So you can think of that as just extra margin that you're earning. Important caveat to this is that you need to be enrolled into the Microsoft Commerce Incentive to be earning your rebates. So we have seen it before where partners will be transacting the right amount of money, they'll be meeting the right requirements, but because they're not enrolled into the Microsoft Commerce Incentive, they're not receiving those rebates. And I guess as co-op is a hot topic for this group of partners, if you're not earning rebates, then you won't be eligible to earn co-op funding. So it's just one to keep in mind. There are additional bits as well you can see there where you can earn more rebate, which is where I think it really pays to look at the funding guide and think about the types of solutions that you're offering to customers. So for example, this financial year, it's changed a little bit. It used to be that you had kind of a higher rebate. I think it used to be 4 or 5% that you got for business premium. But immediately, if you're selling business premium or E3 into customers, you get an additional 3%. We're one of the innovate and balanced countries in the UK. So yeah, an additional 3% on top of that 3.75%. And then with things like tier 2, so these more strategic products, if you've got customers that are on E5 or if you've got Copilot licenses, you're then getting an additional 7% on top of that 3.75%. So you can see that if you're reselling business premium with Copilot to a customer, then the rebate can be really significant. So yeah, the reason I say ballpark 4% is it does vary across different workloads, but yeah, there's obviously an opportunity there. CSP Growth Accelerator, just while we're on the topic, came in this financial year. And it used to be that you had an accelerator for new customers that you had brought to your tenant. It's changed now to be the CSP Growth Accelerator. So what that will be is you will be rewarded that 7.5% rebate on customers that you have gone in and grown. So anything that you've grown over their trailing 12-month usage, you'll be eligible for that rebate. So it doesn't sound like much, does it, when you look at the 3.75% or 7, but when they add up and when they combine, it can be a significant amount of money, which is why it's so great that the 25-point minimum has come in, because for more partners, this is more accessible than ever. And with this being more accessible, I predict that we will see more partners that are eligible for co-op funding. MCI funding, this is one that I see very commonly used. The MCI funded engagements tend to be focused more on your larger customers. So if you are working with customers around that 100 plus kind of size, then these are the times that you can go in and you can put in these proactive claims. And it's something that we support partners with if you're not sure. But we can proactively go into the partner center and scan for eligible workloads, eligible claims that you may have, and then proactively secure you this money back from Microsoft. So for example, this engagement, there's a couple of qualifications here, but if you've got 100 seats of business premium and you've got 5 customers, you can have minimum of 5, maximum of 5. If you run a 90-minute webinar, then you get $2,000 back, because we're market A in the UK. It's never simple, but $2,000 you would get back for running that webinar, which for a lot of partners, these are things that they're proactively doing with customers anyway. We see that you're already doing the work, so it makes sense for you to take these lump sums back. And you can use this money to, you can use it as a new business deal for customers, so you can make the project more attractive and you can offset the cost. Or, I mean, it's probably not the given advice, but you can use them to increase profitability around the way that you work with Microsoft. So MCI funding and rebates, not at all rigid in what you can spend it on. You can use whatever you like. Co-op funding is that bit more rigid, where that money can only be spent once it crosses over. So once that 40% of your rebate crosses $10,000 and it goes into that co-op pot, you can only use it for pre-approved activities. So things that relate to marketing. So for example, you can use it to update your website, or you can use it to purchase your solution partner designation or run customer facing events where Microsoft is a focus. There's a lot that you can do with the funding. But the first step is always get to the point that you're consistently earning that rebate. And then the last point that I wanted to show you, this is why specializations can be really important. If you are working, and again, it is larger customers for these types of projects, but if you've got the modern work specialization or a security specialization, when working with 300 to 499 new seats of E3 or E5, you could get up to $8,000 for it. So they can be really, really significant payouts that you can get as you move through that Microsoft partner journey. Let me move on. Hopefully that's cleared up a little bit of the, I don't work for Microsoft, I can tell you. It is a bit of a mess when it comes to the ways that you can earn with Microsoft, because it's so broad and it can be quite confusing where to begin. I've put the QR code there where you can book time with me to discuss this in more detail if you have got questions specific to your own partner center environment. I haven't got a demo environment of a partner center to go in and click through and show you how to claim it. So the best way to do it is to spend that time in a dedicated session and speak about your specific focuses as a business and what you resell, because it can vary when you're reselling things like services, for example. The earning thresholds are slightly different. As part of the tech track, you are entitled to a free 30-minute discovery with Noteworthy to go through your partner center environment anyway. So if co-op is a question that you have, this would be a great time for us to look through and see if you could be making more out of your Microsoft partnership. So that's everything from my side. Go on, Danny.
Yeah, cheers for that, Annie. I think it gives a good overview, and obviously where Microsoft have brought in these changes from the 1st of October. I think would you mind just covering off, obviously, the alliances package that we've negotiated on the customer's
Yeah,
behalf, I
of
guess, and
course.
what you can offer in terms of the concierge service, I guess that'd be good.
Yeah, of course. I'm conscious that potentially you might not have come across Noteworthy and maybe had an introduction to us before. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me stop sharing this slide and I'll bring up another slide where we could talk through the alliances package in a bit more detail. So essentially, at Noteworthy, we're a group of partner centre experts. So I spend a lot of time talking with partners around their challenges with Partner Centre itself. I spend a lot of time with events and content, but as part of my team, we work on a subject matter expert model. So for instance, Dasha on the team specialises in marketplace, whereas Jamie on the team specialises in funding and designations. The way that that works for you as a partner with Hammer is that Hammer partners have an exclusive discount with us where you can save money on 2 of our core services. First one is a Partner Centre Health Check report, which I'll bring up in a second and give you a little bit more depth on it. But you could think of it like an audit for your Partner Centre. So we can come in, access your environment, and take a look through every single aspect of your Partner Centre and your Microsoft partner relationship. That's then delivered back to you in a really, really detailed report. I think it's around 70 pages long in its latest iteration. So there's a lot of detail that goes into it. And essentially, it provides you with the view that Microsoft have of you as a business. It also includes actionable next steps. So for example, if a Partner Centre Health Check report that we carried out recently, we found over $1 million of funding that the partner hadn't been able to claim. They didn't know that the funding was pre-approved, so they would have otherwise wasted that money. We go in and we check for things like your business profile, for example. We've had countless partners missing out on leads from Microsoft by not having things configured correctly. Co-op funding tends to be one as well, but when we run a Partner Centre Health Check report, partners either are claiming every single penny if they know it's there, or claiming none of it at all. And in the last financial year, we found over $1.3 million of co-op funding that had been left unspent. So it's a really good investment for you as a business to look into your Partner Centre, especially if it's something where, you know, as a Stratos partner, you're actively involved within the Microsoft ecosystem anyway. There's never been a report that we've delivered where we haven't found something that the partner didn't know or can go away and turn into a revenue generating item for them as a business. And then this is where the alliances offer comes in. So typically partners start with the health check report because the phrase that I hear most commonly in this role is we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know where to begin if we don't know what the problem is. And once the problems are identified and the next steps are highlighted, it's a discussion then as to whether or not the business has bandwidth to go in and dedicate time to the things that need remediation. 9 times out of 10, the response will be that no, there isn't time available. It will be people that are, you know, sales directors or commercial, chief commercial officers that are managing the partner centre that have got far more strategic things to be doing than the operational side of updating and managing a partner centre environment. Alliances as a service does pretty much exactly what it says on the tin. So it's an alliances manager as a service, so a fractional one. But instead of having one person, you get access to the whole team of subject matter experts. What I think is really unique about the way that we run this service is that we don't just sit there and say, you know, you've got co-op that you need to go in and claim, make sure you remember that, go and do it. We're proactively within the partner centre environment and we're making those claims on your behalf. So I'd love to say it's touchless. We collaborate a lot with the partners that we work with around their strategy, how they want to grow within Microsoft and how they want to be perceived as well as a Microsoft partner. But there'll be things that we do need from partners, such as like customer details, like projects, like proof of execution and things like that. But we try to keep it as much as possible that the operational side of Partner Centre is just running in the background so that you can do what you do best, which is working on your own business with your own customers, and we can handle the administrative side for you so that you can grow quicker. I'm trying to find the slide in the background, but my second screen has decided to give up. So what I can do is I can attach that to the follow-up with the slides, but that will give you a bit more depth as to what's included.
I've got the landing page with that very naughty word exertus on it, but that just needs rebranding by Sophie. So I'll put that one into the chat there, but obviously that's a bit of a breakdown of obviously what Annie and her team can assist you guys with. We know that you guys are firefighting from a day-to-day basis with current existing customers, trying to find new customers, and this is why we've partnered with Noteworthy, because we don't have the level, a no-cloud distributor has the level of expertise and time to be able to handhold you through that on a monthly basis. So this is why we've partnered with someone like Noteworthy. So definitely have a look at that link. Obviously booking the one-to-ones if you need to. And that's it from myself, really. Have you got anything else, Annie or Michael, that you want to touch on?
I think just on the piece around partnering with indirect providers within the channel is something that we love to do, just because we share a lot of the same sentiment as Hammer in that we only work with you as partners. We never work with end customers because you're the only part of the channel that is going to have a partner center environment that needs sorting. So that's never a concern. I thought I'd mention it because sometimes accessing the partner center is something that does bring up obviously valid questions from partners around how does that work. If you are interested or have questions on any specific aspect that we've gone through, whether it's funding or how we work in general, feel free to book time in. If anybody needs the link, I'll send the slides over following this, just so that you've got it to hand. But yeah, I'd love to connect with you all individually and just find out if there's anything that we can do within your partner center environment to drive you through that more profitable relationship with Microsoft.
Cheers for that, Annie. Does anyone have any questions right now? I mean, we've forcefully unmuted you all, so feel free to shout up if anyone has any questions.
Doesn't need to be co-op either. If you have got anything within the Microsoft ecosystem that's crossed your mind over the last couple of weeks, I know there's been quite a lot of news coming out, feel free to fire it. If I haven't got the answer, I can follow up.
Hi, Annie.
Hey, Naomi.
Hi. You okay?
Yeah,
I've got a
good.
question. Sorry if I missed it when you were talking, but it was about the co-op funding, and you said
Good.
with the whole 60-40 thing, and then
Yes.
if we have co-op funding but don't actually use it, and you mentioned a set period of time, then it goes. What's that set
Yes.
period of time that you have to use it within?
It's a great question. So what it looks like is, so it follows the Microsoft financial year, which can be helpful. So January to June is the first half, and then July to December is the second half. Following the end of that half, you've got 2 months to use it, about 6 weeks to 2 months. It usually is. So for the first half, it would be, I think it's the 15th of August, typically, is the last day that you can claim it. And it works the same on the other side of it as well. So it'd be the 15th of February, I believe, is the last date of that. You have got time if you are currently earning co-op within this half of the FY, so it's not a panic right now. If you do find that you've got co-op funding, it's something that absolutely we've got time to get ahead of, build a strategy around it. Typically, a reason why we want partners to get ahead of it is that, say if you uncover $10,000 of funding, that's amazing, and you don't want to waste the money. Sometimes it's difficult to retrospectively find $10,000 worth of qualifying activities that you've done in the last 6 months. But yeah, there's no immediate concerns, Naomi, around you wasting that money. And us at Noteworthy have worked with Microsoft to ensure that everything that we deliver for partners is eligible to be claimed back via co-op funding as well. So there's always things that we can do to help you reduce the risk of wasting the money. So yeah, you're in a good spot as a Hammer partner, having the discount and then also being able to claim it through co-op. So if you do have it, brilliant. But yeah, feel free to book time in if you do want to double check if you've got it there.
Cool, thank you.
Dylan, did you have a question there?
Yeah, I did. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. No, thanks for your time today. And I know I've spoken to Danny and Michael about this as well. So appreciate you've done your best to try and explain it to us, but
That's all right.
still super complex, if I'm honest. Not sure about the other MSPs. So this is more of a, I suppose, general statement and then kind of next steps. I've already booked in half an hour with you, so so I've done that for Thursday. So thanks for that. I just find it as a owner of an MSP business, it's so difficult to get time to look at this, then try to understand what the hell does it actually mean. Then you get disappointed, around, oh, you don't have 5 points here, 10 points there. And you go, well, I'm better off spending time, servicing a client or doing business development and growing the business than trying to faff about with this side of stuff. So I appreciate the service you provide helps alleviate those problems. So we'll discuss that on the call. But it'll be interesting. I don't really want to start a massive discussion here. Appreciate time, but I'm pretty sure for all other MSPs, it's probably the same. And it's actually, how do we figure out what we can claim for? And then the other, I suppose, the direct question is, so if I've spent, I'll make the numbers up, just say, I don't know, 5 grand on some kind of marketing campaign 2 months ago, last month, right, for Microsoft products or services, etc. Is that what we can claim against? So is it the case that you have to have spent the money, your own money, and then we'll basically refund you that against your credits? Or is it, here's 10 grand, we're going to transfer it, or 5 grand, transfer it to your business account, and then now you get to spend it? How does that work? Because that's quite important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. To your first point, really, really common. It's why we're so busy at the end of the day, is that it's a really, really difficult thing for partners to balance, where it's like spending time working on this operational stuff and getting their heads around it, and then also working to do what they need to do to stay successful. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, it would be kind of counterintuitive, wouldn't it, to spend all of your time kind of getting your head around the Microsoft news and then not onboarding new customers. It's difficult, it's a challenge. And we can go into that in more depth when we catch up. But I guess the general advice on that is to check within the partner center and see what is currently being recognized. If you're at a point where you're in danger of losing money, or if you're at the point where you're earning money and you want to make more from Microsoft, that's the time to invest in us or invest in time into the partner center. If not, then that's the time to really put full focus on growing like new customers, new business, and then revisit it in 6 months. Because it's got to come at the right time for every business. And then to your point around co-op funding, it is something that this question is really common. The reason you have to have spent the money as a business before you claim it back. The reason for that is that as part of the co-op claiming process, so we manage co-op claims for our partners. And this is when I mentioned that we try to keep it really touchless, but we need to reach out on occasion. This will be an area where we're working with you on it. So say, for example, you spent that 5,000 on a marketing campaign. Fantastic. That's immediately going to be a qualifying expense because it's targeted around Microsoft. What we would need to do is put together a proof of execution that you've done that work. And in a lot of cases, it's difficult for you to do the proof of execution without paying for the activity first. So that is why.
And that's the chicken or the egg, right? So if you're a business owner and you're saying, right, why would I spend 5 grand on the proviso that I might not get it back? Now, if you're going to spend the money anyway, then you might as well claim. But if you're looking at your co-op funding, saying, right, there's 5 grand available, let me go and spend 5k because I'm going to get it back, and you don't get it back, so you sit there going, well, do you see what that makes sense?
Yeah, completely. And there's intricacies, I think, as with everything with Microsoft, which I won't go too far into the weeds as to how this works. There's a guide that we have that we work from for partners. So for things that you were going to spend anyway, it's a bonus, right, to have the funding there. It's just money that you otherwise would have spent, and now you get it back. For things where it's very much like, we have this money and we're spending it for the sake of, we have this money and we need to spend it to get an impact back from it, we will use very kind of tried and tested things. So the example that you mentioned, Dylan, around it being a marketing campaign focused on Microsoft is really clear cut for Microsoft to approve it. Similarly with things, there's certain expenses as well that you put through, and I believe that the amount is $2,000, where they're automatically approved if they tick the criteria. It's the larger projects where you're going to have a little bit more of a back and forth with the approvals team. But advice on that is that in the last financial year, so June 24 to June 25, we spent 98% of co-op funding for partners. The 2% was actually because a partner just didn't want to spend it. They didn't have anything that they could find to use it for. But they kind of covered off everything within a short period of time. We never come across the issue of not being able to spend it. I think so. It'll be Chris within the team looks after co-op funding and has been managing it for such a long time that obviously it's truthful and it's honest that partners have done certain activities, but there's ways that you can be creative with proof of executions that make sure that it gets through that stage. It is subject to less scrutiny, so I wouldn't worry too much about that, committing the expenditure and then not getting the money back, because it's not something that we see. I mean, I joke with my partners that, I mean, there are a couple of things that they take quite a hard stance on. If you run an event, they won't let you expense alcohol, for example, through the co-op fund. So there is quite a rigorous set of guidelines where they do go into detail, such as, you know, you can do a partner event focused on co-pilot, fine. We'll pay for everything. We'll pay for the food, the sweets, the drinks, whatever, but no wine, like no beers, no alcohol is kind of the exception. So it is a very detailed guide, and one that if you do have co-op funding, we can work with you on to make sure that all the examples that you choose to spend the money on are things that absolutely will get through that verification step.
Perfect, thanks.
No, you're welcome.
Okay, cool. We all done? No more questions? Lovely. Michael, do you want to just wrap it up then, I guess? Have you got any next steps and obviously the next webinar that's coming up?
Yeah, thanks, Danny. Yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed that, and I'd encourage you just to take Annie up on her offer and get that 30 minutes time with her. She's the expert in this area around these kind of claims process, and you'll quickly be able to work out if you've got any marketing money there to use or not. And then moving forward, if you haven't done already, I know that many of you, I can see I've already met you on your growth audits. You can book some time with me. We'll go through your one-to-one growth audit together and build a dedicated plan to get you that growth. And as Danny said, the next webinar we've got, which is on Tuesday, the 4th of November, we're continuing on the overall 5 pillars of success, which is a dedicated program that many of you on this call have already fed into as part of the structure of that, which is how to get basically growth in your MSP business quickly. So we've got the 5 pillar program. We're going to be continuing with that. On the 4th of November, we're going to be looking at lunch and learns, which you can either run physically or virtually, how to invite people onto those lunch and learns, how to structure them, and then how to get outcomes where you're building relationships with decision makers. So that's going to be the topic on the 4th of November. So if you haven't already registered for that, please do so. Any final questions on any of that forward-looking stuff before we conclude today's session? No, sounds like not. Thanks everybody for today, and don't forget to book your call in with Annie. Thank you. Thanks, Annie.
Thanks for your time, everyone.
Bye.
Really appreciate it.